for more, we can turn to Ross Gerber, head of the investment firm Gerber Kawasaki in California, also a very close observer of all things Silicon Valley. Ross, thanks for speaking to us. Tell us, do you think that the firing of the author of this memo was the right way for Google to respond to this controversy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at some point, business in America and the world need to address, these kind of stereotypes that are being sent out there that really, A, aren't per se accurate, and B, don't promote, I think, a diverse and positive workplace, Now,
the memo itself broaches this idea of an ideological echo chamber where dissenting views are discouraged. Do you think there's anything to be said for that in Silicon Valley?
Well, I think that you could say that among a lot of places in America, not just Silicon Valley. But I think that it's the way you say things is a lot of times more important than what you're saying. And the way that they keep saying things, and I think these engineers very much are bad communicators by nature, right? If we're going to generalize. And really, you've got to think really a long time before you put something on the internet and whether or not that's going to look good, whether 5 minutes later or 5 years later. And I think there's, for people who are supposedly so smart, maybe they're not that smart.
Now, the tech industry in general has been facing a lot of scrutiny over its treatment of women, really ever since Uber was accused of fostering a sort of macho bro culture. Have you seen any concrete steps by any of the major players there to respond to that criticism? No. I think they say all the right things. Their media people go into overdrive, but we haven't seen any sort of concrete changes anywhere in Silicon Valley, that's for sure. I think that, corporate culture is such a delicate and important part of building a company, and it's so important to have an inclusive culture for all types of people. And with the diversity we have in California, it's actually mind-blowing to me that this stuff is still going on in this day and age in such a litigious society that we have. Now, Google's also facing an investigation by the U.S. Department of Labor for allegedly paying its female employees less than men. Is there any way that all this could actually damage the brand?
Absolutely. Let's be real. Women are probably the most powerful consumers in the world and certainly represent half of the people in the world. And alienating half the people in the world can't be good for your brand. And secondly, one cannot, how would I say, minimize the importance and power of social media and the way a brand is perceived. I talk to people all the time that won't use Uber anymore. They just won't. And I get that completely. And the last thing you want is your brand on the sort of do not touch list. And that's potentially what Google could be doing. I think they've taken the right steps. They fired the guy, and I think they're taking the right steps to try to repair their reputation.
Ross Gerber, thanks so much for joining us from Santa Monica.